What's good, peeps? Thanks as always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. All right, let's do this. Q&A part 10. Part 10. So we've nearly been doing this for like a whole year. Thank you to everyone that got the questions in. I'll try and go through as many as possible. Thank you to everyone that's recently subscribed to the channel. All the old subscribers that have still stuck around. Much appreciated, guys. I really mean it. Much appreciated. The channel's growing. The subscribers are growing. So again, thank you so much. Let's quickly set a timer for this. I'm going to try and set it for 45 minutes. And if it goes over that, that's not a problem, but I don't want it to go under that. So let's begin. I think I've got a couple of questions via email. Let's do those first. Question here from John James. Says, thanks for answering my question last time. Hope I get lucky again. Dude, you're the first one. That is lucky, right? Question, how often do you cut your hair and what do you use? I'm bald myself and I cut my hair twice in a week using a shaving cream. It's fucking tiring. Yeah, I use clippers, but I don't even cut it that much anymore. There was a time when I wanted to cut it every other day just because I didn't want people to know I was bald. Now I think, fuck it, so I grow it until I have something to do. If I have nothing to do, I'm not cutting it, right? I'm not cutting it. Just because I feel like it's just fucking irritating my skin because I used to cut it so much. So now I just leave it. So for example, I've not cut my hair for like 2-3 weeks. Just won't do it unless there's something to do. I think there might have been a couple more on the emails, but let's just go straight to YouTube anyway. That's where the majority of them are. 119. Luke Bashian says, can you justify your pick of Jammy Dodgers being ranked higher than Bourbons? I think when you look at it pound for pound, that pick is blasphemous. And even not pound for pound, Bourbon still quite comfortably beats Jammy Dodgers. I don't know if you guys know what he's talking about, but I did a video about maybe a month ago and I ranked my top 10 biscuits. And I think I had Jammy Dodgers as number 2. I think I had Chocolate Digestives as number 1. Jammy Dodgers, then Bourbons, I think. You're right. You know, Bourbons could be better than Jammy Dodgers. I just think Jammy Dodgers is a special biscuit, right? It's a special biscuit, and I think that's why. I think Bourbons, are just a good, basic, cheap biscuit, right? I mean, you can go to the shop and get them 50p a pack. You can't do that for Jammy Dodgers unless it's special offer. Jammy Dodgers it's a special biscuit, hence why it's higher up. Small Ball says, if I can get Hatman and Derek Chisora to come to Nando's for my birthday, would you come? Dude, if you can get Hatman and Derek Chisora to come for your birthday, I will pay for the Nando's. Josh Hanlon says, other than the obvious matchups like Wilder Joshua, Wilder Fury, what are your top 3 heavyweight fights to make? Mine are Big Baby versus Dillian White, Povetkin versus Ortiz, and Ruiz Jr. versus Kaunaki. I like the Ruiz Jr. versus Kaunaki one a lot. That's a good fight. I'd favour Ruiz Jr. but that's a very good fight. Big Baby versus Dillian White. I hate even talking about Big Baby, if I'm honest with you, just because of that drug shit. But then again, Dillian White's going through some drug shit as well. So yeah, put them together. Povetkin versus Ortiz. I'd rather see Ortiz versus Tyson Fury. I think that would be a good fight. 8 Zaz Raj has said, if you could put 5 boxers versus 5 MMA fights, who would you pick and why? If you're talking about a boxing match, which I'm guessing is what you're talking about, the MMA fighters would get lit up quickly. I mean, their striking is good for MMA, but when it comes to their striking versus an elite boxer, I mean, it's just one-way traffic. I would, however, like to see Amanda Nunes versus Clarissa Shields, because Amanda Nunes can fucking hit like a truck. And I'd like to see that one, but other than that, I don't really have much interest in MMA versus boxers anymore. Superintendent Chalmers says, how would you see a fight between a prime Roy Jones Jr. and prime David Haye at cruiserweight? Oh, at cruiserweight. I mean, David Haye is super fast and super strong and super big at cruiserweight. I mean, Roy Jones Jr. is a beast. That isn't as easy as people think. I think a lot of people will immediately say Roy Jones Jr. At cruiserweight, I mean, David Haye is bloody fast. I'd pick Roy just because it's Roy, but David Haye could put Roy Jones to sleep at cruiserweight. At cruiserweight, could put him to sleep. I mean, that David Haye that fucking fucked up Enzo Maccarinelli. I know it's Enzo, but that David Haye there was like peak David Haye. Speed, strength, everything. But I would go Roy just because it's Roy. Seb Owen says, favourite cake out of chocolate, Battenberg, red velvet, carrot cake, cheesecake, and Victoria sponge. Interesting question. Are we talking standalone, like the cakes by itself? Are we talking with ice cream, with custard? You need to be a bit more... I mean, I need more information, Seb. If we're and are we talking one slice, a few slices? Because if we're talking one slice, red velvet all day. But I can't eat 4 or 5 slices of red velvet, but I know I can eat 4 or 5 slices of carrot cake. If we're talking with custard, I mean, you have to go for the traditional chocolate, right? Chocolate and custard. I'd go red velvet if we're talking standalone. All right, let's do it this way. Red velvet, standalone, 1 slice. Carrot cake with ice cream, woo, a few slices. And chocolate with custard. There you go. Blade, the best Marvel character, says, do you think Gilberto Ramirez is underrated? I do. I mean, look, this guy's a world champion, or was. Now he's vacated. Undefeated, and no one talks about him. I mean, he's going up to 175 to try and get the fights against, I don't know, maybe Bertabiev, Vodzik winner, or I don't know, Bivol maybe even Callum Smith, but he just hasn't had the fights, right? He hasn't had the fights. I mean, Bob Arum does nothing for him. Nothing whatsoever. Kane Page says, do you think any current boxers can reach the same heights as Floyd Mayweather? No, I don't. Not just staying undefeated, but the amount of money he made, just his aura outside of the ring, I don't. Those type of fighters are kind of once in a generation. I don't see it, to be honest. Ossie and Zico says, have you heard anything from Eubank Camp about his next fight? I haven't. Nothing. He just seems to be living his life. I follow him on Instagram, and I mean, he's having house parties. I mean, crazy looking house parties. Up and down in his McLaren. I mean, I've never seen him out of the gym for this long. Every time I watch him on Insta stories before, he's always in the gym. Like, you always catch him doing something in the gym. This is the longest time I've seen him not doing anything gym-wise. So I've just kind of just stopped watching, to be honest. The one says, who do you think would win between prime Mike Tyson and prime Evander Holyfield? Prime Mike. Good fight, though, but prime Mike was fucking monstrous, man. Monstrous. Monstrous. Bloody hell. Also, do you think Holyfield took PEDs from his move from cruiserweight to heavyweight? I mean, there are some things that are certain in life, like death and taxes. Up there with that certainty is that this guy, Evander Holyfield, took performance-enhancing drugs. I'm sorry. I mean, didn't he have heart problems at like 30 something? PED. He, like, 100%. I mean, that guy looked like a fucking bodybuilder that should have been on the Olympia stage when he jumped. The Olympia stage. Josh Hanlon says, if Bare Knuckle had an MMA versus boxing event, what fight would you want on the card? My number 1 is the Black Beast versus the White Rhino. I would like to see, and this is bad, I wouldn't like to see it actually, but since you've asked the question, 2 of the biggest punchers, oh, it's awful actually, no, I think someone could die. Like Francis Ngannou versus Deontay Wilder, bare knuckle. Scary. Clark Greaves says, who would you pick in a street fight between Mike Tyson or John Jones? John Jones all day. Like, remember when being the heavyweight champion of the world meant you were the baddest man on the planet? Not anymore. Not with the MMA guys, unfortunately. In a street fight, they will just take you down and fuck you up. They'll break every limb in your body. Just like that. Let Sticky Goat says, what do you think is next for Hughie Fury if he manages to topple the beast from the East? Good question. If he can beat Povetkin, what would be next for him? Don't know. I mean, now he's signed to Matchroom. I mean, would he want a rematch if Joseph Parker gets past Derek Chisora? Might want to see that one then. I don't know. I'd like to see where it puts him in the rankings. But that might be an option. Or they might even chuck it in someone like a Carlos Takam. I need to do a video about Carlos Takam because he's obviously not getting the Usyk fight, right? Which is weird. But yeah, maybe a Carlos Takam or the winner of Chisora versus Parker. Brad Smith says, have you ever been to New York? I'm off to watch UFC at Madison Square Garden November. Bloody hell, well done. Can't wait. It's not a bad trip, is it? I have been to New York. I'm not a fan. Not a fan of New York. But I mean, well done on getting it. That's going to be fantastic. Global Frank 95 says, I know you've said you like basketball before in your Q&As. So top 5 duos in the NBA for the upcoming season. It's the best the league has looked for a while. I agree. So top 5. Number 1 for me, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. Number 2, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Number 3, I think people are sleeping on this one. I don't know why, but if Clay comes back mid-season, you cannot sleep on Clay and Steph. You can't. It's the best shooting backcourt we've ever seen in our lives. So that'd be number 3. Number 4, it's a shame that Kevin Durant's out because I think KD and Kyrie could have been good, but they're out. So I'm going to go a tried and proven number 4, and that's CJ McCollum and Dame Lillard. Number 5, although they're both ball hoggers, I mean, something's going to happen between Russ and Harden. So that's my 5. Mohamed Larousi says, have you heard rumours that Dean White is actually not Dillian's brother and his real name is Lamar Scott? I have. I don't know what's going on there. It's a bit of a weird one, but I have heard the rumours. They're not even rumours, it's true. They're not real brothers. And his real name is Lamar Scott. I don't get the Dean White name. I mean, look, I don't mind people saying each other are brothers. I mean, I've done it. But, I mean, they were acting like they genuinely were real brothers. I don't even know if they're half brothers. I'm confused by the whole situation. So I don't want to talk on something I don't know, but very weird. Aladag Khan says, who do you favour in the Fury Wilder rematch? And how do you see the fight going? I don't know. I think I've said this before, that I think they're both kryptonite for each other. Like Fury's fear is a puncher, pure puncher like Wilder. And Wilder's fear is a pure boxer like Fury. I do think, though, that Deontay Wilder maybe underestimated Tyson Fury going in the first time. Probably looked at him, was there for that Pianetta fight and probably thought, what is this? I think he underestimated him. But at the same time, I think that wasn't the best Tyson Fury because of the long layoff. So we'll see, right? We'll see. I will edge to Wilder just because of that power. He can put anyone to sleep. So I'll edge to Wilder just. Jack Payne says, Ade, love the content. Keep it up, my brother. My question is, what are your top 3 favourite rounds in boxing in the last 5 years? Oh, last 5 years. Good question. I'll give you my top 3 favourite fights. I can't think of rounds right now. Fights that have me like on edge, sweaty palmed. Ortiz Wilder, fucking hell, sweaty palms. GGG versus Canelo, the first one. Sweaty fucking palms. And believe it or not, this is so random, but Dillian White, Anthony Joshua. I don't know why I was so pumped for that fight. So pumped. I have no idea why. Random. Derek Chisora says, McGregor versus Canelo or GGG in a street fight, who wins? I would always go for the MMA guy. Always. I know they're tough and big and strong. MMA guys can take you down and break bones. So I'd always go for them now over any boxer. Fact. John Snap says, Eddie Hearn says he's got 5 or 6 major signings coming up outside of Mikey Garcia. Who do you think there will be? Gary Russell Jr., Eubank Jr.? I think Eddie just talks. I mean, he's been saying major signings for like the last year and a half since he got this kind of DAZN thing going. Or a year, is it? And nothing. Nothing, really. So I don't expect anything. I expect Mikey Garcia, and that's it. No one else, if I'm honest with you. I mean, is Gary Russell Jr. a major signing? Eubank Jr., are they major? Don't think so. I mean, he's had Eubank Jr. before and said he's tough to deal with. And Gary Russell Jr. fights once a year and no one knows him in America. So no. Mr. PSB says, hi, Addy. How long do you think it would be before Usain Bolt's 100-meter and 200-meter records are broken? 9.58. Fuck me. I don't see anyone touching that. There's one guy, however, that I think will break the 200-meter record. I'm a big athletics fan, by the way, people. Noah Lyles. He ran 19.50, I think, in Oslo, in the cold, I think, 2 months ago. But 19.50, fact. He doesn't get a good start, and he's starting to build up his strength. That guy, I think, will run 19 flat very soon. He can't do it in 100 because he starts so bad and it'll take too long to pick up. Christian Coleman is close, but Christian Coleman recently, I don't know if you guys know this or even care, but he missed 3 drug tests. Missed them. So we'll see what that means. Stuart Cutton says, how do you find being a presenter for Fox, and what would you recommend someone does to get a job like that? Firstly, proud, if I'm honest with you. It was a big thing when they even messaged me. For those of you that don't know, I do some stuff for Fox Sports Africa quite a lot. I'm actually flying out to Senegal in 2 weeks. So you guys are going to see all the videos from Senegal rather than this green chair, to be a pitch side reporter, which is something I've never done for football, for a tournament they've got there. So they've got basically like a tournament for all the West African teams, pretty much like the Nations League over here. And I'm over there covering that for like 22 days. So yeah, immensely proud. You know what it is? I don't think you can think, I mean, look, if your ambition is to do something like that, it's all well and good, but you almost have to do your groundwork. And what I mean by that is that I, at the start, was doing so much TV work for very small companies for free. I'd pay my way to get there, I'd pay my way to get back, and I just wanted to be in the studio for free. So there are so many small local TV companies that you might not see on TV that might have a YouTube presence or something like that, or a random presence somewhere, that are looking for people to come on as guests, but they won't pay you. So there are so many opportunities like that. I done it for a company called Arise News. I done it for London Live for a bit. And then I started to get paid and noticed by other smaller companies like TRT World, which is like the equivalent of like BBC, but for Turkey. They started to see me and pay me. And then obviously I got Kwesi, and then obviously Fox, which actually is now ESPN in Africa. So it does take time, but I would say go to your local TV stations and radio stations. They're begging for people for free because they don't have the budget. And then you'd be surprised how that experience could help you. John99 says, who do you think would win in a fantasy matchup? Floyd at 135 versus Loma now. And how do you think the fight will play out? Floyd. As much as I wax lyrical about Loma just because I think he is that good, I think Loma's best weight is either 126 or 130. I'd probably edge to 130, whereas I think Floyd's best weight is 135. So I'm not having that Loma beats Floyd and it's not even his best weight. That's Floyd's best weight. That's Floyd at his fastest. That's Floyd at his strongest. That's Floyd at his more accurate. The defense is still there. I mean, there aren't many that could beat Floyd at 135 in the history of boxing. Duran comes to mind, but there aren't many. Floyd is that supreme. And in the end, I think it'll be points, but I think Floyd's speed would just be the key factor. Josh Hanlon says, who's next for Dillian White? I think Hughie Fury if he beats Povetkin, or the Kuzman Hunter winner if Povetkin wins. Boy, I mean, B samples what's next for Dillian White, but I don't know. I mean, that's going down a bit. I think all these names are going down. Hughie Fury for Dillian White is, I mean, Dillian White gets nothing for that fight, and he doesn't get anything from Kuzman versus Hunter. Dillian White wants to be in the consideration for Usyk, Ruiz, Joshua, Wilder, Fury. That's all he wants now, and I think he deserves that. I think all these guys are a step down. I don't think it's fair, as much as we are still waiting for a B sample. Xian, am I pronouncing that right? Cian says, best Premier League team and best football team in the world. Those might be two different questions, you know. Those really might be. Best Premier League team, as much as I'm a Liverpool fan, Man City. Come on, that team's fucking ridiculous. Ridiculous. But best team in the world, let's say Europe. I mean, it's got to be Liverpool. I mean, we're the European champions. I just think on a European night, we can perform better than Man City. We can perform better than Man City. Are we better than Barcelona over 2 legs? I think we've proven that we are. Right? Juventus? I think so. I think we'll do Juventus. Real Madrid? I think we'll do Real Madrid now. I mean Hazard's there, but Ronaldo factor's a big one. He ain't there. Who else is there? Paris Saint-Germain? Yeah, they're just hype jobs. So I think Man City, when it comes to the best team in the Premier League, fact, I don't know how or why, but they're that bloody good. Well, I do know how, money. And Liverpool when it comes to best team in Europe. All right, the Grim Reaper says, hi Eddie, much respect to you. My question is rather random, but are you based in South East London or are you on the other side of the river? Purely asking because you've pointed at the O2 Arena on your videos. Keep up the great work. I'm in Stratford, East London. So the O2 Arena is kind of there. It still is a few miles that way, but it is that way. I did once though have a a showroom, Southeast London, Bermondsey, where I used to make and sell these. So, yeah. Dr. Johnson says, who do you want to see Callum Smith fight next? Anybody? I mean, I've not got much interest in Callum Smith, I have to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind seeing him. I mean, he's not going to fight the likes of Benavidez. Like, in an ideal world, I want to see Callum Smith versus Benavidez. And then I want to see the winner of that face Caleb Plant. That's in an ideal world. I have no interest in Billy Joe Saunders. I wouldn't mind him moving up and fighting Gilberto Ramirez or Bivol. But if I had to pick one name, it's Benavidez. KS says, any tips on how to grow and maintain a beard? Your one is levels. It's not levels right now. Feeling and looking rather shit. But I'm lucky because there is a shop near me, a Ghanaian shop. And they kind of sell tubs of their own mixture, which is like coconut oil, argan oil, what else is in there? Shea butter, almond oil, and they kind of put it all together and sell that for like $5, which is pretty damn good. Joseph Mensa says, do you still think Buatsi beats Yard if they step in the ring right now? Boy, yeah, I do think Buatsi beats him. But I do now believe that Yard could put him to sleep. Yard's got power, that there's no two ways about it, and Yard can take a shot. You know, the funny thing is, I do also believe, watching that Kovalev fight, and although I've said I want Yard to stay with Tundi, I'm in the firm belief that if Yard gets a proper trainer and loses a bit of muscle, I'm not quite sure how you lose a bit of muscle, but maybe just stop the weights. I don't think he even does weights, by the way. I've seen him do a few pull-ups and stuff like that. If you can just stop that, Yards is a very talented boxer. I mean, again, we saw him, that guy that we saw against Kovalev was a guy of 12 amateur fights and a guy that's been fighting nobodies. I mean, there's talent there, right? Hanan Malik says, who can end a street fight quicker, a boxer or an MMA fighter? MMA fighter all day long. They'll end a street fight in a minute. Who wins? GGG versus Khabib, last man standing. Khabib all day fucking long. Khabib Nurmagomedov. Doodle Bob says, what do you think of Smith versus Bivol? Any interest? Bit of interest. Minute interest. See, the problem for that is that we have here a 175-pound champion, 168-pound champion, both of them unbeaten, both of them ranked very highly. That fight won't do any numbers, and both of them will want to be paid a good amount of money to step in the ring with each other. But the fight won't do numbers. So you can't pay them the money they want, so the fight won't happen. Crazy, right? Leo Donald says, 5 favourite fighters of yours that have got popped for PEDs. I'll list the ones that have been popped, and I'll list the ones that I believe were taking shit but didn't get popped. Makes sense. So my 5 favourite fighters that got popped. Roy Jones Jr., he got popped. Shane Mosley got popped. James Toney got popped. So they're my favourites that got popped. My favourites that didn't get popped, but I'm convinced were doing shit, Evander Holyfield, Manny Pacquiao. XA Gregory says, since you're an MMA fan, do you think you'll ever do MMA-related videos on the channel? Probably not. Probably not. It's like I'm a big football fan and a big athletics fan. I wouldn't touch them either. But I understand why you asked about MMA, because obviously fighting, but probably not. Aladad Khan says, would you like to see the Mayweather-Pacquiao rematch happen, and how do you see the fight going? I do not want to see it happen. That is Mayweather 10 years past his best. That is Pacquiao 10 years past his best. I don't want to see granddads getting in the ring. Original Individual says, will 2020 be Billy Joe's most lucrative year to date? Lucrative, yeah, because I don't think he was getting paid that much with Frank. But I'm not convinced when Eddie says big fight after big fight after big fight after big fight. I mean, I can name a number of boxers where Eddie said that about and we didn't see it. He said that about Brooke. We didn't see it. So I'm not convinced about big fight after big fight after big fight, but he will get paid. Doughboy says, Ade, Efo or Egusi with Eba or Panda Jam. Woo, boy. For those of you that are probably thinking, what the fuck is he talking about? That's a Nigerian meal. That's making me hungry. I would go with Efo with Eba. Not Efo with Amala, maybe, but Efo with Eba. I'm going to my mum straight after filming that. That has really got me hungry. Cage Side Only says, at the end of 2020, who do you think will be the undisputed heavyweight champion if it happens? Love your videos, bro. All right, so basically, we're talking 2 fights, really. So we're talking about the winner of Joshua versus Ruiz, right? And the winner of Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I'll say undisputed champion will be It's not going to happen, is it really? But Tyson Fury. Dan Edwards says, Brother Ade, what's your take on the MTK Global events and the fact that they are free to air on IFL TV? Love it that we can watch decent level UK boxing from classic venues down here in South Africa without trying to find a dodgy stream. Yeah, shout out to MTK Global for doing that. That is pretty big, right? They're growing massively, MTK Global. I think Mike Coppinger done his sort of power rankings, and I think they were like ranked 8th. 8th. I mean, bloody hell, their growth is crazy. And I love the fact that they are showing it for free on IFL TV. I don't know how long that's going to last, just because they are getting big names on their cards now. But for now, we have to soak it up because it's really good to get some free fucking boxing. Chris Everlay says, flip side of what's next question. If AJ absolutely flattens or dominates Ruiz in the rematch and makes him look very average, where does Ruiz go from there? He'll still get fights just because he's a name. But, I mean, Ruiz could easily turn into a Buster Douglas, you know, where, I mean, Buster Douglas obviously shocked the world with Mike Tyson. Evander Holyfield beat him, and that was kind of that. He could turn into that. But I think he's good enough to still stay within the top 10 and have those fights. And he's got the name, and he'll be known as the guy that beat AJ, so he'll always get fights. But that could very well happen. He could just literally disappear. I mean, boxing's all about making those checks. And he's probably going to get paid, what, £15 million or dollars for this fight? Probably got paid 4 or 5 for the first one, to 20 million. He could literally say, fuck it, I'm done. Could. Jordan Griffith says, Billy Joe Saunders versus GGG, who wins? And can you see the fight getting made now they're on the same platform? I can see the fight getting made, and I almost want to reserve that question until I see how GGG deals with Derevyanchenko, but obviously Derevyanchenko is completely different from Billy Joe Saunders. I would still favour GGG, just because he's the proven, right? We've seen him in there against the better boxers, Jacobs and Canelo. We still haven't seen Billy Joe with anybody of note. David Lemieux, no. Andy Lee retired, and don't you dare say Mr. Eubank Jr. G-Man Boxing says, Ade, if you were offered the chance to commentate and cover on a completely different sport like F1, would you do it? Yes, I would. I would. Just because I think you have to take chances. You have to take chances in this life. You can't do something that always leaves you in your comfort zone. Sometimes you have to take a step in the deep end, and I would do it. I am doing some pitch side reporting in Africa on football in a couple of weeks. Again, not really my thing, but why not, right? Why not? Kane Cottrell says, what's your thoughts on a super heavyweight division? Interesting, right? Because there are small heavyweights and there are fucking giants. But I like the heavyweight division right how it is right now. I think most of the guys are all big. Apart from maybe the likes of Usyk, most of these guys are walking around 17, 18 stone, so they're all around the same level. The one that's quite small out of all of them is Deontay Wilder, and he's the bucky and the scariest out of all of them. So I think we're cool right now. Base the Kid said, do you think Liverpool's lack of signings this season will affect them down the stretch? I don't. I almost feel like things like people like Oxlade-Chamberlain feels like a new signing. Naby Keita didn't really play last season, like a new signing. The thing about new signings, and everyone talks about it, is that you have to bed them in. Like, immediately you have to bed them in. And I like the idea that Liverpool is the most settled side in the Premier League right now. That team has almost, apart from maybe one or two, that team has been the team now for 2-3 seasons. Everyone else is having to kind of rebuild. United rebuilding, Chelsea rebuilding, Arsenal rebuilding. There's a reason the top 2 teams are the top 2 teams. Yes, Man City have spent money, but they've not added that much. There's no wholesale changes. There's a player here, a player there, that's it. The others are just constantly rebuilding, so I'm happy with the way Liverpool are right now. CJPA says, Nigel Benn versus Julian Jackson, who would have won? I love Nigel Benn, love him to death. But I mean, Julian Jackson, he's sleeping, Nigel Benn, I think. Alan Osu says, football podcasts have taken off so much that I feel the opinions of Gary Neville is as valid as, say, Arsenal Fan TV. In some instances, I get more information from fans as opposed to, say, Alan Shearer with non-answers. How can we get more voices in the boxing scene heard? Like your podcast gets included in the main TV commentary. That is a very good question, sir. Very good question. I think it's coming. I really do think it's coming. I mean, you got to think, some of these football podcasts, for example, like Redmen TV. Obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I watched that. That's been going 10 years. That's been going like 10, I think 11 years. It's a long time. They're starting to get noticed now, but it's been going a long, long time. Even Arsenal Fan TV, it's been going a long time, starting to get noticed now and recognition for maybe the last sort of 4 or 5 years. But he's put the work in. He's put the work in, 1 million subscribers. I think that sort of the IFLs, the boxing socials, the fight hypes, and people like myself, Hatman, Ultra, Sporting Icons, just need to keep on going. I think we are starting to get some recognition. I think that we just need to keep on going and also make it a bit more professional looking. I mean, not the IFLs and the boxing socials, the interviews, but people like myself. I think once we do that, you start to get a bit more recognition. I think you'll get noticed. And I think they will ask for our opinions on subjects. I think that's coming. But I think for now, it's a case of just keep on going. And more of us as well, by the way. There isn't enough of us. There's quite a few of us, but there isn't enough of us at all. You think of how many football podcasts and football fan TV channels there are. Hundreds now. You think of boxing, and immediately you think of IFL TV, right? You think of Fight Hype. There isn't enough. I think the more that comes, especially in this country, I think the more that our opinions will be valid. But that's a good question. I might do a video on that. Mojo says, hey, Ade, which fighters do you think are huge for their weight class? And could you name 3? And what do you think of Eubank holding house parties on a regular basis? Needs a fight ASAP. Yep, he needs a fight. You know what he needs? He needs a fight date. He just needs to have a fight date because I'm seeing these house parties. I'm seeing him do various different things. Everything apart from fighting. Interesting. Again, this was a guy that lived in the gym. Maybe he needs a break from the gym. Maybe that's what he's been told, or I don't know. But he looks like his mind is as far away from boxing as it's ever been. 3 fighters that are big for their weight class. Jarrett Hurd is the number 1. Okay, easy actually. Jarrett Hurd, Callum Smith, Errol Spence. Super Stack says people who start at a young age, for example, 8, versus people who start late, like 18 to 22. Do you think it matters? Wilder and Anthony started late and look where they're at. That only happens, I think, in the higher weight classes. Only really in the heavyweight class. I think if you start late in any other class, you will get found out. I'm sorry, you will get found out by a boxer. Heavyweights can get away with it because of the power. But it rarely happens. I mean, you need to start young in boxing. You do need to start young. Not as young as 8, but at least as young as sort of 14, 15 late. I think that's quite late, but 14, 15. I mean, I was in a boxing gym at like 11. I mean, obviously I didn't take it up further, but I was in there at 11. I mean, again, those that have started late, they can make up for it, especially if you're a natural athlete like an Anthony Yard or a Chris Eubank Jr. or a Hara Davis maybe. But once you come up against a boxer, I think it will show very easily. Sheriff Bigley says, hi Ade, bloody great channel. Is it true that Spencer Fearon has lost his Sky contract? I don't know. I have reached out to him about this. Haven't got an answer yet. I'm going to try and reach out again. Obviously, we don't see him as much on the Toe to Toe podcast. A few people have complained. I don't know why. I think Spencer's good because he's very, you know what it is. I think he just speaks his mind, which is good. I know some people like it and don't like it, and some people think he's a bit racist. I don't think that at all. By the way. I just think he's a very pro-black person. But I'm not sure. Who is your least favorite ref? Oh, what the fuck's his name again? What is his name? The mixed race ref. I can't remember his name. What is his name? He's a British ref. Can't remember his name. Who would win in a fight between Jason Statham and Chuck Norris? Chuck Norris all day. What do you think was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase in Pulp Fiction? Great film. No idea. Great film though. I love that film. Have you guys seen the new Quentin Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? I love it. Some people don't like it. I love it. Great film. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. Luca Basso says, out of everyone that hasn't popped for drugs, who's most likely on it? Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao's on drugs. Like, I don't know why people get upset with me when I say that. Pac-Man is on the juice. Hence why there was no VADA test in that fight. He's on the juice. I mean, Keith Thurman hit that motherfucker clean and he didn't move. Keith Thurman, a known puncher, hit that motherfucker square on the jaw. He ate it like Pac-Man. CRB said, you said you went Cancun. What year and dates was it? I'm always there every March for a month. You recall Daddy O's, La Vaquenta, the city, clubs. Would you return? Come on back, G. What year did I go Cancun? I'm going to say it was about 7 years ago. And I went spring break, which I think is March, April, or April, May. I was there for like 10 days and it was fucking epic beyond epic proportions. It was so crazy that I actually missed the day of raving because my body just couldn't keep up. It was like the party scene was too much. I was like, I'm not coming out today. Like, no, pack it in. Pack it in. I still don't know how my ex let me go there. IMPK13 says, do you think Ruiz beating Joshua was good or bad for the sport of boxing? Good. I think it was actually pretty good. I don't think it's ever a bad thing when one of the favourites lose. I think it shakes it up a little bit, right? You've almost now added another name into the mix. Before, it was always getting a bit tired with the Wilder, Fury, Joshua. Now, all of a sudden, people are saying Wilder, Fury, Joshua, Ruiz, and maybe even Usyk. So I think it's always good when you can chuck in another name. BG London says candlelight dinner, Michelle Joy Phelps or Ann Woolhouse. I wasn't very keen on Ann Woolhouse before, I have to admit. She's the Sky Sports presenter, if people are wondering who that is. Then I went on her Instagram and slightly stalked her for about a month. Fucking hell, she's a machine, you know. She's alright, but I still would go for a bit more meat. So I'd go for Michelle Joy Phelps. Not that I'm that interested in her at all, by the way. I mean, I've seen her out a few times. She's alright. Alright, she's a bit more than alright. She's alright. Callum Gallagher says, if Josh Taylor beats Progress in impressive fashion, how well do you see him playing into the mix at welterweight? Welterweight. Fucking hell, some killers in that division. But I see him doing... I mean, look, if he beats him impressively, like completely outbox him and stops him, then, I mean, you chuck him straight up to welterweight immediately. And if I was him, I'd go straight for someone like a Danny Garcia immediately. Danny Garcia is not a big 147 pounder. I think he'll do very well up there, but I don't think he is going to beat Progress in impressive fashion. I actually have Progress to beat him. Mr. KWX Ben 1966 says, intelligence. Tunde Ajayi, Spencer Fearon, Deontay Wilder, etc. keep using motivational jibber jabber when surely the key to any success is the level of your intelligence. I think so. I think intelligence just in life is very, very important. I will say this though, I think Spencer Fearon, I've sat down with Spencer Fearon on a number of occasions, had sort of off-camera conversation, just normal conversation. He's a very, very intelligent person. Very intelligent. I don't know Deontay Wilder and Tunde Ajayi personally, but Spencer's very intelligent. And I think that's the key to everything, not just boxing, but life. Jason Bennell says, who do you see Loma fighting after Campbell? And who do you want Loma to fight after Campbell? Thanks as always, Addy, for the great work. Thank you, bro. He said it in a fighter meeting today. I just watched it that this might be the end of Loma, by the way. I mean, he's talking about, like, after Luke Campbell, he's going to fight the winner of Richard Coleman versus Teofimo Lopez because he said he wants all 4 belts. Then he said after that, there's no more motivation. He's not going to go to 140. So I think that could be that. So I do want to see the Coleman fight. I do really want to see the Gervonta Davis or Mikey Garcia fights, but I doubt they're going to happen. Mr. KWX Ben 1966 says, follow up from another comment. Any chance of a boxing discussion with, say, you, Hatman, Rob Tebbett, Coogan, Tian Booth, maybe not Tian, around the table? I think this should happen. And I would be all for it. I mean, again, you do see a lot of the football podcast guys come together, sit around the table and discuss it. I mean, and not only that, but they've then pushed it so much. I mean, they're doing stuff for things like Triple Eight and all that kind of stuff. I would love to be around the table with the kind of YouTube boxing guys and just discuss boxing. I'm all for it. I don't know how much Rob would do it. I know for a fact Hatman wouldn't do it because obviously he doesn't show his face. Tian Booth would just cause too much trouble. But I would love to do it with Rob. Maybe Uni from Fight Hype, he knows his stuff, and Coogan, that would be fun. Box Clever says, hi Addy, my question is, with all science, nutritionists, etc. used nowadays, why do you think a lot of fighters seem to gas earlier than fighters from previous eras when they used to fight 15 rounds? And do you think science, etc. is relied on too much? Do you know why they gas? And this is a fact, by the way, because I've been watching a lot of old school stuff now, and a lot of these boxers now are trying to weight cheat, especially in the lower weight classes. So not heavyweight, anything below heavyweight. I think fighters of yesteryear used to stick a lot closely to their weights. Whatever weight they were fighting at, they were very close to it. Nowadays, I think fighters are almost trying to just kill themselves to make weight, like literally kill themselves. Like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Billy Joe Saunders looked about, I'd say, close to 200 pounds when he done that press conference with Eddie Hearn. This guy fights at 160, 168. How fuck does that make sense? Kell Brook, same thing. Kell Brook is walking around now, probably around 190 pounds. He fights at 147, 154. Fighters back then, yesteryear, I'm not even talking long time ago, 10, 15 years, 20 years, used to be more close to their weight class. You rarely saw them fat. Apart from maybe Ricky Hatton, you rarely saw them fat. So I feel like fighters now are killing themselves to make weight, and that's why they look shit on fight night. And you don't even really see them do road work anymore. They do all this fancy strength and conditioning stuff. Just do the fucking basics and jog. They don't even seem to do that anymore. I don't know. All right, last couple of questions here. Dave Lane says, if David Price had a decent chin and good cardio, where do you think his career would be now? Do you think he would have lost to Tepper, Hamer, Thompson, etc.? I mean, you're trying to build the best fucking fighter, yeah? Decent chin and a good cardio. Still think we'd lost. I think with David Price, it's mental. I think there's a big mental struggle with him. But yeah, I mean, look, you know what it is about this chin? I don't care who the fuck you are. If a heavyweight hits you clean, big heavyweight, you're going down. You're going down. Again, I mean, there isn't a heavyweight that hasn't gone down. Think of all the top 10 heavyweights. Right now, all of them have gone down. Wilder's gone down. Fury's gone down. Joshua's gone down. Dillian White's gone down. Ruiz has gone down. Parker's gone down. Ortiz has gone down. Pulev's gone down. They've all gone down. If a heavyweight hits you clean, you're going. Last question here. Have you ever been to Portsmouth? Eddie Ward, asked, have you ever been to Portsmouth? I have. A good friend of mine, Lomano Lowa, used to play for Portsmouth. We actually went to the same college. He basically went to a school very close to me called Forest Gate. I went to Rokeby. And at the time, I'm not even lying here, but I was considered the hot shot of football. And then I saw him and I was like, what the fuck is this? He was that damn good. Didn't get scouted though. So we ended up going to the same college, Leighton Sixth Form College, and we played against Colchester. And he destroyed everyone. And then Colchester signed him. And we couldn't believe it. Colchester signed him. Then from Colchester, Newcastle obviously signed him, as you guys might know. So I used to go up to Newcastle to watch him play. And then he moved to Portsmouth. So we used to go to Portsmouth. Me and his cousin used to go to Portsmouth and watch him play. And it was just unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. What a footballer. What a footballer. His other cousin made it as well. Trezor Kandol played for Leeds United. We had a lot of players around my area that made it. Alton Fairwell played for Tottenham, Hull City, Leyton Orient. Obviously, Ledley King came through. There's quite a few players that came for Jermaine Defoe, all around this area. So yeah, that was it. Anyway, that's the end of the Q&A, people. I don't know how long that is. Fingers crossed it's around 45 minutes, hopefully. Peace.